Okay, I have received the Broadway Limited Imports F7-A, item number 6873, road number 5644. This is the second one of these. The first one stopped with some sort of short inside the locomotive. And when I was examining that, I also noticed that the shell hits the beginning of one of my turnouts, and might have even popped this area right here open on the original one. So I put this one on the track. Actually, when I took it out of the box, the coupler, the pin on the coupler, was not in the right place. It was out of order. On the other one, the coupler dangled down so far that it was below the beginning of the shell. So I had no choice but to try to cut it. I did try to bend it at first on the original one, but didn't work. So I had to cut it. And it looks to me like you can see that this coupler is actually a spam call. Okay, that this coupler is actually was bent up in the box. So I just took this out, and in fact you see a gap there, and you can see how it's bent a little bit out of proportion now. So I hope it's going to be okay. My phone will focus in on it. Put it down. But it's quite delicate, regardless. I think you can see it. Okay, so I have not run the locomotive yet. I haven't powered it up. I wanted to deal with the shell issue. And when the shell was on there, it rocked just a little bit, maybe 1/16 of an inch. So that if the shell would actually stay upward just a little bit, I would not need to cut or trim the bottom of the front of the shell. So I thought, well, maybe if I can figure out a way to get that shell to make sure it leans up just a tiny bit, then I won't have to go through any modifications here, and I might not even have to modify this coupler, provided the coupler is going to work as is. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is use just a tiny bit of Gorilla Tape right here on either side of this light, in hopes, whoops, can't see where I'm pointing, can you? Okay. Alright, I'm going to attempt to put a little bit of Gorilla Tape here and here, which I hope will fit just inside the shell here. Get you a good view of that. Just enough to keep the top portion of that shell elevated. And if it will work, I will not have to make any physical modifications to the shell itself. So I will give it a try. One thing that appears to be different in this locomotive than the other locomotive, even though they were both made at the same time, I am assuming, let me take one quick little look inside here. Yeah, manufactured in January. However, notice that that's some sort of taped item on top. I think in the first one, I think it was printed right on the board here. But at any rate, unless I'm mistaken, on the previous one, the coupler housing connected directly to the front of the shell. On this one, it's screwed or screws into the frame. And you can see it. Those two little ridges, I gotta be careful. I don't want to mess up that antenna or any of the detail parts on top here. But there's a little ridge on both sides, just at the top of that shell. It was very, very difficult to get this locomotive out, or get the shell off of this locomotive, because those ridges are they're big, and they form a lip that this front of the locomotive right there has to go through. And I mean, it took me more than 10 minutes to get into the locomotive to get that shell off. And it looks like you have to do it by pushing this forward, pushing the shell forward just a tiny bit, and bringing the front end up at an angle instead of the back end. And or you can't just lift it straight up, because straight up it won't clear it. So I have done what I could do. Now let me apply this tape. So I'm going to cut two small strips of Gorilla Tape here, which has a small thickness to it, and we'll see how this works. So I'm going to pause it. Okay, I'm resuming. As you can see, I've applied two very small pieces of Gorilla Tape, exactly where I said I would. And now I'm going to put the shell back together and see if it will provide that little bit of lift to the front end of the shell. I'm going to pause it again now. Okay. I've put the shell back on without the coupler. And there's play right now, but that's because the coupler has not been installed. So you can see how it goes up. So I'm pressing the shell down pretty much to as far as it'll go. And we will see if it will clear that frog right there. So that's where the problem was occurring. Okay, it's not catching, but it looks like it's just riding over it. Let's check it again. Yep, right there it hits. Okay. I don't know how well you can see that, but it hits. Now most of the time, this might not be too much of a problem, but wait, I don't have the locomotive on the track. So let's try it again. Okay, locomotive is on the track now. That's pressed down pretty much, and it clears it. Feels like it clears it. Now it hits it. You can see the track reacting. Okay. Maybe one more thin layer of tape, and perhaps I will have it mastered. But now it looks like the coupler pin in the back is getting caught. There's a catch right there. Wonder where it is. It's not the coupler. Something else. Maybe the wheel is not on there. Sorry about that. Can't see what I'm doing. Okay. Right now that looks like it's working. Okay, that does look like it's working, so maybe I won't add any more tape. Let me put the coupler back in it and test fit it again. I went back and put 2 more layers of tape on there after test fitting the shell back on top of it. It didn't work, so added 2 more layers of tape, and now I'm going to put the shell back on. 3 layers of tape was too much, so I went back and removed 1 layer, so now I'm down to 2 layers of tape. Okay, back at it in the testing phase. The frame does not rock anymore, or the shell doesn't rock on the frame anymore. Pushing it forward. Okay, it clears it fine. Coupler clears it front and back. Coupler clears it. No hang-ups. So that should work great. Right now this thing should be programmed at 003. So I'm going to start it up and give it a whirl. Alright. Starting that loco up. It's in the forward position. Pressing F9 first. Should get a startup sequence. And again, this is Broadway Limited Imports. The item number, I think, from memory, is 6873. The road number is 5644. This is an F7-A unit. And you can see the other 3 units in front of it. It is powered, has Paragon4 sound. Moving it forward. 1 speed step. Okay, this is the first run. Has not been run before on my tracks. It stopped, so not showing a short over here. I'm going to move it back to 1 on the controller, and let's give it a boost and see what happens. So I have other trains on the track, so I'm not going to be able to go all the way around, but I'll move it forward and backwards a little bit. Five speed steps. Okay. Now, I'm eventually going to consist it with these other locomotives right here. But since I have it here in the on position, I'm going to turn on my Rolling Thunder to see if my Rolling Thunder will catch it. Previously, Rolling Thunder tests would not catch from here to the edge of that other layout right there. So hold on, let me see if it'll work. On second thought, maybe not. I provided a review to Direct Hobbies, factory Direct Hobbies. Their maximum upload video time is 15 minutes. We just crossed that mark. So, well, I can always trim the video. So hold on, I'll do that. Okay, the Rolling Thunder receiver is on. So is the power for the speakers. And thus far, no reception. This is about as far as I can take this. So that actually should be functioning. You should be hearing some sort of sound from my Rolling Thunder. Let me pause it and check all wiring. Okay, I haven't installed all this yet, but to be sure that the speakers are working, because I did find the power source not plugged in. This is the switch for my lightning. Speakers work. Everything's tied in the way it should be, but I'm getting no response from this Paragon4 locomotive. It's not pairing up, and I'm less than 2 feet from here to here. Okay, so not sure what's going on there. Okay. Again, at this point, I'm trying to get it to trigger the Paragon Rolling Thunder. It's not happening. I'm going to pause it, read up on it a little bit, and then resume. Okay. This video is getting long, and I am resuming. One thing I noticed when I took the time to go over and read some more information, that front coupler there was sitting on the table over there. It had slipped out, and I since tried putting it back in there. Didn't want to fit in there right. It keeps slipping out, so I reverted it, clipped it off, and have it set in there temporarily. This could be a problem, because normally when I run this 4-unit consist, this locomotive is the one that is going to actually be coupled to the cars, and if indeed that is a Mirco-Trains coupler, it does not work very well without a coupler pin in it. I believe this coupler is somewhat damaged a little bit. I'm going to try not to have to send this locomotive back again a second time. I might reach out to Broadway Limited and see if they can send me a replacement. I may have some Mirco-Trains couplers. I just don't know if I have one exactly this size. But nonetheless, the idea here is to see if we can get the Rolling Thunder to work. It's supposed to work right out of the box. And to be certain, I went ahead and pulled out a HO scale Rolling Thunder, and that does work. So I'll show you that real quick. This is not really a review for the HO scale Southern at this moment, but just briefly power it up, power it on, hit F9, and we should be able to hear my Rolling Thunder go to work here. So let's see, key it in, 8099, press enter, and F9. Okay, so immediately you can pretty much hear a pop coming from the large speakers, and in a moment that should pretty much start making noise. Here we go. So that's a Paragon 3 locomotive, and I should be hearing something similar from this one over here when I start it up. So I'm not going to get too much into that. I just wanted to let you see that it definitely works. It's in the middle of the startup sequence. I'm going to try to shut it back down. Okay. All right. Okay, so the Paragon 3 works with no problem. Turning that back off. So now, when I turn this one back on, it should work. The distances are pretty much about the same. That's the receiver. So it should work. It is not. Pressing F9 again. Right now it's on 0.3. Let it start up. So it could be the tiny antenna that's inside this one, or it just doesn't have enough broadcast power. But there are no CVs for me to program. So we should be hearing some sound this close. And due to the length of the power cord, that is as close as I can get it. Nothing. So either the Paragon 4s are not compatible, or that's an issue. So what I'm going to do is, we'll get it getting up here quite a bit. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to go grab an N-scale Paragon 3 locomotive and come right back, and let's see if that one will do what it's supposed to do.